Hello everyone and welcome. Make a cup of your favorite drink and get comfortable because this is a wonderful time for news stories from Yellowcat. Send your own stories in the comments below and maybe they'll be in our new video. People who got fired on the first day of the job. What happened? I applied for a public safety position at a municipality, legit medium-sized town of about 50k people, and got called in for an interview. I show up to be informed that this is a 3-part interview, first with HR, then a physical agility test, then a panel interview which includes the mayor, city manager, and medical director. Mind you, I was never told about this process, it isn't in the job posting, and I'm in a GD suit. I do the HR part, then go to the PAT, look like effing Rich Eisen running a 40-yard dash, only doing an entire PAT, and show up decently sweaty at this panel interview. Fairly certain there is no way I'm getting hired for this job, I proceed through the interview. They ask some completely generic questions. I can understand a few job-specific questions mixed in, but no, this is all if you were walking in the woods, what animal would you see questions. Then one of them stops the interview and says, "We've heard enough, can you come in tomorrow? Day after, skip Thursday, and come in Friday, that'll be your orientation." I said, I didn't know I'd be working here tomorrow. I still need to give my other job a 2 weeks notice. Also, am I being offered the job? What's the compensation package? The mayor responds, "You work here now and you need to make us a priority. We can discuss pay after your orientation is over." WTF? I said I still need to give notice to my current job, to which he proceeded to tell me not to bother, we wouldn't be a good fit, and to turn in any equipment and uniforms. What equipment? What uniform? So, I'm not sure if I was fired, quit, or never hired, but they sent me a check for 8 hours, so I think my story qualifies. I think you were very lucky to be fired so quickly. There are a lot of red flags here, above all, working for the government. That's always a lot of trouble. Secondly, you weren't told how the interview would go. Like, dude, I'm thinking of calling and saying, "Hey, we're gonna have a running speed test here at the interview, bring your uniform and your sneakers." It's like 1 minute of time. Third, these people are weird as H if they ask questions that are not directly related to the job. Fourth, they're clearly understaffed because they're so quick to hire you the day after the interview. Seriously, what about screening candidates, choosing the best one, and so on? It's a municipality, a very responsible job. And last but not least, they're idiots because what they H are uniforms and equipment. Or are they supposed to give you something? Then it's even worse. The management clearly doesn't commit to the HR department. Pizza place. I asked what my pay would be and whether the training was paid. This was highly offensive to the comically Italian man who owned the pizza place, and he said that there was no need for me to come back. The pizza was awesome though, so I still got pizza there. Great, you're hired. You can start immediately. Sounds good. Hey, just curious, what is the salary? You get the H out of my shop! How could you ask that question to an Italian? What's the pay? Are you serious? Isn't working for this, I sure. A great pizza master enough for you, you filthy Yankee. Hired by a Michelin star restaurant for my first ever job. They expected to take me on and train me up on the job and pay less for me than already trained staff, but when a member of staff didn't turn up, I had to attempt silver service with no knowledge. Obviously, I failed, so I ended up polishing cutlery with the owner of the restaurant. We got talking. He said he saw potential in me to do better things in my life and just said that I should never follow his footsteps and put my passion for food ahead of my other passions/interests as it will ruin my life. Later, he talked to the manager at the time, told me I could use them as a reference for future jobs, and I was given a week's rather than a day's pay. That's funny. Instead of kicking you out after you screwed up, they gave you a week's pay, so also a recommendation. What a cool owner. I want the same thing. You get a job, you mess up, you get a paycheck instead of a kick in the A. In that case, you don't have to work at all. Huh. Business plan's done. But yes, this is certainly a unique case. In other contexts, it is unlikely. And that's why this restaurant has a Michelin star. Got fired on my first day at my first job during high school mixing custom colors at a paint store. I followed the formula exactly according to the manufacturer's specifications, but the resulting color didn't match the sample. As mentioned here some time ago, the paint store owner fired me on the spot in front of customers, even though it turned out to be his fault for not having updated formula specs he had received from the manufacturer. I would have poured that paint on his head for something like that, in front of the customers, of course. I just got hired at Sonic Drive-In. They had secret customers come in fairly regularly who order and eat the food, then judge the employees in restaurant on how well they handled company policies and stuff. Well, the current employees have been getting horrible grades lately. Like, the highest in the last 2 months was 68 out of 100. The owner walks in and says the next person who gets below a 90 is fired. So, on my very first day, they put me on drive-thru, which was a nightmare. And sure enough, I find out later that a secret customer rolled up. Owner comes back in at the end of my shift 8 hours later. Who was working drive-thru today? You got an 88, you're fired. And then left. So, that's how I got fired for being the best employee there on my first day. WTF? Well, have him. With this approach to employee selection, his business will go down at the speed of light. No one just wants to work there. OP, you deserve the best. Better get revenge on him. Write reviews everywhere you can about how the staff is treated here. And sick on them with the Department of Labor. I wonder if this counts. I once got hired by a magazine to do some translation work. It was a freelance gig, so we didn't even do any official paperwork beforehand or anything. When I arrived, they said, "Oh, so sorry, we already had someone come in and do the translation." I was livid. I asked why I wasn't notified. They had no answer and essentially fired me on my first day. About 6 months later, I'm working somewhere else, and I get an email from the same local magazine asking me if I'd like to come in and translate some stuff for them. I was in a bad mood, so I went totally out of character and went off on them via email, but in a professional tone. I basically said, "I do not respect you or your boss for treating me this way. Please do not offer any work to me or ever contact me again." 2 days later, I get an email from them telling me that I've been fired for insubordination. What morons! They don't even know that they fired you a long time ago? What kind of magazine is this? A guide on how not to do management. Real life examples only. Well done, OP. They deserve it. Technically second day since day 1 was my interview and I did some training. I have a sleeping disorder that was at the time undiagnosed. This is important. I was to be there clocked in at 7 a.m. at a box factory, which felt like a conspiracy during training. Like, we were just moving money around from cardboard folder to cardboard folder in a big circle. Giant slabs of cardboard came to us inside of huge boxes, which we then shaped into boxes and filled with slabs of cardboard and shipped out. I felt like the chain probably kept going infinitely until our same cardboard looped back around to us. Regardless, I was to punch in at 7 a.m. to join the circle of box life, and I woke up staring at a clock reading 11 a.m. and panicked. I immediately called my boss on a sincere, "I am so sorry, I don't know how I overslept," even though I'd lost jobs over it before, just never on day 1, and I can be there in 15 minutes. Are you effing kidding me? Is this an effing joke? Quit wasting my time. Click. I groggily stumble the F out into the living room where my housemates are playing Guitar Hero, and I'm kind of in a state of shock because while I get 4 hours is an absurd amount of oversleeping, I've never been shouted at like that before. I start explaining that to them when it dawns on me one of my buddies who is currently trying to best his reigning blood score should be at school right now. He has class on Tuesdays. "Trevor, you skipping today?" He looks at me and just reminds me a schedule. Tuesdays and Thursdays. "Yeah, dude, it's Tuesday." It's Wednesday, dude. I had slept from about 10 p.m. Monday night until 11 a.m. Wednesday. Now I'm on an anti-seizure drug and can live without being terrified of whether or not I'm going to be able to wake up the following day, but that is the only time I got fired on the first day. I lost a lot of jobs I didn't like over that S. Too bad for you, dude. But, based on your story on this job, even without a sleep disorder, you can fall asleep from doing the same thing all the time. By the way, did you ever try to explain to your employer that you have this sleep disorder and give him a doctor's note? If he/she is normal, I think they should forgive you and let you work. Or next time, warn them that you sometimes turn into Princess Aurora. Was second or third day, but first day working with the boss. At the end of the day, the shared till comes up short a little over $5. I know the exact transaction too. He was slow on the registers, so I left it beside the till. It went into his pocket. He tells me I have to make up the difference out of pocket. I politely refuse and inform him that's not permitted by the Employment Standards Act. He blows a gasket and I leave with him yelling at me. He was fined $250. The sad thing is, the woman who'd worked for him for 5+ years had been starting her shift by putting money in the till to cover any errors. She'd probably put in more than $1,300 while working for this jerk. I feel sorry for this woman, but I don't understand why she kept doing it. OP, you're awesome. You could have still contacted the owner and reported him. Get that a-hole kicked the H out of there. Although, if he is the owner, that's too bad. But if that woman had filed a report against him and provided proof, it wouldn't have helped him. Went to work for a big software company in the UK, no names mentioned. I went to the agency who were doing the hiring. It was very professional, very thorough. Agency knew their S, wanted someone who could support their customers' hosted environment call desk. No issue there. I know the process. Get the job, went to the building, all smartly dressed for my first day, and the key card I was given for the front door didn't work. Okay, no biggie, but it happens all the time. Tried it again, and then again, no joy. Tried the door, didn't budge. Receptionist looked at me like, awkward. What the H? She comes to the door and says in that awful drone voice that some receptionists have, "Are you alright?" Yes, I am fine. I'm the new guy, my keycard doesn't work. Oh, I don't have any appointments for new starters today. Oh, this is company name HQ, right? Yes. What's your name? I'll check against the DB. Come in and take a seat. Thanks. Sorry, I don't want to be rude, but my shift is supposed to start in 20 minutes. Is there a manager that can verify who I am? One moment, please. So she sits there on the PC for 2 minutes while I'm sitting at the receptionist desk looking like a lost person. Finally, she speaks up. Manager will be here shortly. Okay, great. 2 minutes later, big tall South African guy turns up and says, without a pause, "Who the H are you?" I'm Airwalker D&B Music, the new guy for the hosted support desk. Oh, S, effing agency seat up. Sorry, we filled the position. Sorry? Yeah, you were supposed to start on Monday, but the agency probably didn't tell you, did they? Happens all the time. Look, wait here, I'll see if there's something we can do for your travel, etc. So, like a mug I am, sat there in reception being told there was no job for me after handing in my notice at my old job. Manager comes back. Can you do SQL and second line support? Yep. Okay, come back at 5 p.m. and we'll start you on the out of hours desk, same salary. Monday to Thursday, 5 p.m. to 12 p.m. So, you want the job or not? No. Mr. Afrikaans chap, I don't, but I'll take it because money and not being homeless is better. So I came back at 4:45 p.m., ready to do some work, freshly showered and with a hearty meal in my belly. Keycard didn't work still. No receptionist. I tried the door. It wouldn't budge again. This is going well. A window pops open upstairs. Afrikaans guy. I am so sorry, mate, we can't hire you. We had a guy lined up and he didn't turn up, but now he's here and he's got more experience. I am so sorry we couldn't reach you earlier, my friend. Please, can you give our HQ a call in the morning and we will get you some travel expenses. I'm stood there, in the cold, having been fired, hired, then fired again without starting a job. I just marched off into the gloom, furious, and phoned the agency right away. The guy was horrified when I told him what had happened. He kept apologizing, but I asked him, what are you gonna do about this then? I've resigned from my old job and I can't go back. They have replaced me. Well, we have this position in hospitality, 14 pounds, 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. working Wednesdays. Go F yourself. The end. Mine didn't get that far, but I had something sort of similar happen to me once. What the H? Those bees? The OP should have filed a complaint against them. If they officially put you on and gave you a key card, they had no right to hire someone else for the same position. That's their big mistake from start to finish. And if I were you, I'd take the third offer. I'd come in on the first day to make sure I definitely hold the position, create a situation where they couldn't do anything without me and would just leave without notice. And I'd also send the F out to the dude via corporate email. When I was 18 to 19 or so, I interviewed at a printing company down the street from my house. They tell me to arrive for my interview at like 10 a.m. or something, show up and wait until around and wait some more. Finally, at around 10:45 or so, they bring me in and I interview. It goes great, and in the end, the interviewer tells me that they had narrowed the position down to 2 people, me and one other guy. That guy was supposed to show up for his interview at 9:30, but he never showed. They waited for him, but without him showing up or calling, the job was mine. They ask me when I can start, we work out the pay and everything, and I'm ecstatic. I'm walking out when this beat-up van pulls up. This scraggly woman is driving, and this redneck guy jumps out wearing a t-shirt and jean shorts. The guy that had interviewed me had walked me to the door, and seeing this guy tells me to hang on 1 second. He pulls the guy off to the side and they quietly discuss something, then the interviewer asks me if I have a few minutes. I say yes, and he tells me to take a seat in the waiting room. I sit there for about 15 minutes or so, and the redneck guy comes walking out with the interviewer. Redneck guy leaves, and the interviewer asks me to follow him back to the conference room again. I go in there, and he says something to the effect of, "Here's the thing. I know we told you that you had the job, but that was the second guy that I was supposed to interview. He didn't call and was late, but he's poor and has a bunch of kids. He needs this job. You're just a kid. You'll bounce back and do fine, but we have to hire him. One day, you'll understand." And just like that, he showed me the door. I walked out completely stunned. I don't think I said a word. I was dead broke at the end of my rope and really needed that job. In the end, it worked out. I put myself through school and am now far more successful than I ever imagined back then. But I don't think I've ever been so peed. And even today, 15 plus years later, I don't agree with what he did. So this dude was accepted even though he was late and wasn't dressed according to the dress code, all because he pushed the button, and they got away with, "One day you'll figure it out." OP, they are not worthy of you and clearly a-holes if they look not on skills and knowledge and marital status. And I'm sure that with a start like this guy didn't stay there long. Guys, thank you for all the support and likes. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed yet. See you next time.